Have you ever wondered what life is like for someone who makes money creating on OnlyFans? When I said those two words, what judgments flashed across your mind? What expectations or preconceptions do you have about what it would mean to do that kind of work or to pay for that kind of content? I know what I thought about it. The reflections of the inbuilt shame and conservatism of my youth, they show up. And even though my accepting adult self is the one doing the thinking, I still have to double take. And when I finally spoke with someone who makes money there, and I'm talking upwards of $200,000 a month, I was blown away. Harry Jowsey's a superstar. With an online following approaching 10 million people, he has pivoted from an appearance on the reality show Too Hot to Handle, which is on Netflix, and he's pivoted that into a career where he's absolutely in charge of his worth, his value, and he has agency about every single thing that he gets involved in. And pardon the pun, skin in the game. Are some of those things videos of explicit sexual content between consenting adults, which other consenting adults gratefully pay to watch? Yes, they absolutely are. But no one person is just one thing. This person has such an incredible head for business, a crystal clear understanding of the product he offers people who are willing to pay for that product, and a really strong vision of how he plans to innovate that product and participate financially in the success of that product every single step of the way. Whatever you thought about creators like Harry, I reckon you might be about to get challenged on some of it. I certainly was. Yes, his body and yes, his sexuality are a part of his value proposition, but there is so much more to him. I was incredibly impressed with this guy. I really hope that watching this, you'll be open to perhaps a shifting of perception around people who make a living in the same way that Harry does. You can find Harry everywhere. He's on Instagram, TikTok, and yes, even OnlyFans. Enjoy this chat with Harry Jowsey. I'm really stoked to speak with you today. Don't give away exactly, but can you give us a vague idea of where in the world we're talking to you today?
I'm in the Gold Coast. I'm at the Langham Hotel.
The beautiful, the Golden Coast, where the sun shines most on the Golden Coast.
Beautiful here.
Oh man, we shot the Bachelors up there.
I met those guys. They were telling me they did it up here, and they said it was just gorgeous.
Yeah, so
it's amazing.
They were there's a big high rise. If you look out to your left, there's a massive high rise with a spire on top. That's where they lived.
They don't put them in like a big house?
They lived in an apartment, a penthouse apartment that is so big you could ride your bicycle from the bedroom to the pool, which was also inside the apartment.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow, that is crazy.
It was the full scenario, man. It was like, not for me. I'm not, you know, I'm nearly 49. Those days, like, I'm cool. I am octonauts and I'm playing with magnets with my toddler. Maybe in my 20s, but not. Yeah, it was perfect for them. But mate, I'm real stoked. I'm so stoked to talk to you. And who you are to many people is this kind of mysterious new version of what it is to be someone of profile. Someone like there's a business model that people know of someone in the public eye, whether it be an athlete or someone who does my job, which is be on television, old television, and people kind of understand how the money comes their way. But when they look at someone like you, who you're 25, 24.
Yeah.
24. They're like, what? What? They just don't. It's like beyond their comprehension because it's only like in the last maybe 3-5 years that this has been a way that people can pretty much set themselves up for life. And the model of, oh, no, but they didn't go to university and blah, 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 blah. Like, and people are, do you find people are afraid of that?
For sure. Yeah. It's just like, it's the world of the unknown. You kind of just have to dive headfirst into it. Like, I've got a lot of friends here that still don't understand this world and understand like how I navigate my life, which is fine. But yeah, I don't know. I tell anyone to stay away from university. I'm like, you go out there, figure out your shit. Unless you want to be an engineer or a doctor or like something where you need it. But like, if you're in high school and you're confused, I just go and travel the world and find out who you want to become as a human.
What was your experience like at school? I heard there might have been a bit of ruckus.
Yeah, I was the world's worst kid, to be honest. Like, I was class clown. I got pretty much kicked out of all the schools in Queensland. They wouldn't accept me anymore. So I went to school in New Zealand, and then I got kicked out of that school as well. But it was the same situation. Like, essentially, you have to go to university or your life's over and you're going to die. Like, that's kind of how it felt. And then once I realized that can actually just like work and like live and travel and life isn't that scary, then it was good to go.
You're not a small man. When you got off the plane in New Zealand, were you as big as you are now?
No, I was pretty tall, but I was just skinny. I was just a little like cricket. Yeah. At
what point did lean muscle mass come into your life?
Not probably when I turned 21, like not till later. Like I look at photos and stuff, especially when I was on tour to handle, I was skinny fat. Like I thought I looked good, but now compared, I'm like, okay, well, I can tell like my testosterone is, I was going to say estrogen. My testosterone is gone up a notch, and I'm building into a man.
At this point in your life, you're a protein synthesis machine. All right, wait till you come my end of the spectrum, mate. It's a little harder to find.
It's going to slow down.
It's just how it is, mate. Unless you go exogenous, and that's a whole other world. But what was it about school that, you know, clearly you're a clever man. Clearly you have figured out ways of making the world work for you. Clearly you've figured out ways of keeping perhaps not relationships that people may know you through, but business relationships. Like, you don't accidentally stay successful in any field. You have to be someone that people want to work with. You can't be a fucking asshole, because eventually people go, not worth it. So clearly you figured out how the world works. You know, what was it about school that didn't kind of grasp you?
It's just more in a sense, like, I didn't necessarily appreciate being told how to think. Like with university, it's like, this is how business works. This is how it goes. I'm like, well, how many like online businesses have you started? Like what, like for me, it was more around like, I just couldn't see their proof of like concept. So I was like, okay, well, I don't want to listen to you, which is terrible, but I just don't like being told how to think. I personally would rather go out there, fuck up, make the mistakes, learn from it, and then figure it out. That's what works best for me. I can't have someone be like, oh, you shouldn't do that because it's not going to work. I'm like, well, I want to figure that out. I don't want you to tell me because it might work for me.
At what point in your life did the idea of being able to make money off the way that you appear, you know, visually start to show up?
When I first got verified, that's when I on social media, I realized like how much power that had with just like selling stuff. Like people there's like more notoriety there. And that was the first time where I was like, okay, like I can actually turn this into like a career on social media. And a lot of people figure it out like without being verified or whatever. But that was kind of the first point where like you can kind of, I don't know, you kind of stand out a little bit in the social world. So it was, yeah. But then for my face and my body, it was kind of more when the second show come around.
Right. How do you have conversations? I mean, even now, when you're talking to people back in your poon where you grew up, you know, how do you explain to people where the money comes from?
It comes from a number of things. So it's more like I have, you know, an investment fund. I have a bunch of brand deals all the time. There's things that we film that may not get posted on my social media. We film shows, just filmed a movie. And then there's also like OnlyFans money. There's podcast money. There's money that's coming in from so many areas. So yeah, it's kind of funny because I did the same when I first come into this space of like, I'm looking at these social media kids and no one's posting brand deals. How are they so successful? What are they doing? And then I realized like where there's audience, there's opportunity, and there's so many different ways where you can leverage that. Maybe it's just putting your name to something and you get sweat equity with a brand or whatever else. So there's a lot of ways to make money in this space.
Let's talk about that, because a lot of people may not understand what what sweat equity is. We've heard Beyonce talk about it. Fuck you, pay me. We've heard Beyonce sing, don't give me cash, give me equity. For people who are listening that have never heard that before, can you explain to them what it is?
Yeah, essentially, sweat equity, you get someone who may have a valuable name. I'm not saying mine is that valuable, but for some brands it is. Like for Blake Griffin, Theragun, when he first started with the NBA, they said, "Oh, we want to have you a part of this team, but you don't necessarily need to invest because of who you are and the amount of eyeballs you're going to bring to this brand. Whether that's just having your name associated, whether that's having you post on social media, whatever else. So it's a free marketing funnel for whatever brand that is, and all they have to do is shave off a couple points, and it works better in my favor as well because I'm invested in the long-term game for this brand and I want to push it as much as I can. And when I have conversations, whether like it's a podcast like this or whether it's in the media or whatever else, I'm going to drop in, oh yeah, this is what I'm involved in and I'm excited about it. So it works hand in hand with the brand and the public figure.
And when you say shave off points, you're talking a percentage of the shares that are available within the founders pool. Yeah. The way the structures are, there's a founders pool and there's, when they raise more money, they leave shares aside to raise more money. But essentially, it's usually only in a startup phases of maybe Beyonce's getting points in Tiffany. Probably. Because she's Beyonce. Jay-Z will show up and go, 99 was the amount of problems. Well, guess how many is going to be? No, I think Beyonce can take care of herself more. But it's essentially like usually in the startup phase of a company, treating somebody like yourself as essentially an employee, or a marketing play, and that is worth money to the bottom line. You're not an engineer, you're not a salesperson, you're not a strategy person. However, who you are can get more people's eyeballs on the particular brand, and that is worth a lot of money to the other shareholders. So giving you, points of 1% or 1% or so in the startup phases, it's low risk for you, it's low risk for them. But if it blows up, hello boys, it blows up.
Yeah, everyone's happy. There's
that famous story of the guy that wrote the graffiti on the wall in the Facebook office. He did it for shares, wow. And then it was like this one mural. It was only a couple meters long, and at the time Zuckerberg was like, I don't have any cash, I'll give you some shares. And cut to 5 years later, and it's literally like $80 million or something. It was
wow.
Yeah, I think it ended terribly. I don't think he did well.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, a huge amount of money suddenly bestowed upon somebody who may not be ready. Has unfortunately there's many stories about that, and we're seeing it play out in public. We're seeing it playing out with people like Britney Spears or such and that. When you're a young person, I certainly know this. I'm someone who rides motorbikes. I'm very grateful I didn't ride motorbikes until way late into my 40s after I had a family. So I'm far more careful and far more risk averse. Yet in my 20s, it was like, I don't know where my money went. All that Australian Idol money, dude, I have an idea when it went, Harry, but how do you, when it started to really turn on for you, when the tap of cash started to show up, and then you realized, wow, I can leverage this and I can turn this $1 into 10 if I'm clever with it, which you clearly are. How did you what kind of steps did you take to make sure that you would be okay personally, and make sure that you will kind of insulate yourself from getting into this bottomless pit of, essentially, spending that ruined you?
I think the best thing that I have is I have an incredible team around me. So my manager, his name's Jeff Duncan, and he's a very successful businessman. And he brought me on and essentially just ran me as a business. This is how much cash coming in. This is kind of what we're looking at. We have like monthly breakdowns of like what's going in, what's coming out, budgets, everything, all that stuff to make sure everything's kind of like just exactly like a business. So when the money started like turning on like crazy, I really got nervous to spend anything. And I kind of got scared because I didn't want to disappoint him. Like, oh, I want this really nice watch, but I'm afraid to spend it. So I was kind of like scared to do anything. And then when I realized that it's my money and I could spend it, I went a little bit crazy. But so we have an investment fund, and we have, I have an amazing accountants. I think I have like 3 that help me plan for the future. We have like, okay, like we set goals. And I think that's the best way to do it with money, especially coming in as quick as it does, is to make sure that there's like, okay, so this year we want to get a house here, or this year, we want to invest in this or whatever else, so that I know that maybe I shouldn't spend $150,000 this month and go crazy and travel and take my friends somewhere. Maybe I should just sit on my hands for a little bit and hold on to that cash. So yeah, it's just about having a good team and a good structure.
How did even that, let's go back before that. At what point is management show up? Because you're very lucky to have that. Some people don't have that. Some people hit I'm in my experience, I hit the head of it with nobody. And it didn't work out very well. It's worked out better now. I've got a great team now, but at the time I had nobody. How did that even begin?
So when we first finished filming the show, I had one friend. So my ex-girlfriend lived in Vancouver, and I only had one friend there. This guy, Jeff, who I met in New Zealand randomly through some like business people. And I told him, I'm going to be in town. Would love to get a coffee. Would love to catch up and just sit down and pick your brain about things. Because at that time, didn't really know anything about business. Didn't know. All I knew is I had this show that was coming. And I had a pretty shitty team in New Zealand at the time because I thought the best thing to do was to be with an agency and to be able to get brand deals and stuff going in, but they sucked. Like they didn't care about me. They didn't care about anything that sense. So I told him like exactly my struggles, and he's like, "Oh, well, look, if you have any contracts that you want me to look over on the side of my desk, I'll do it." Then he started, helping out a little bit more. COVID kind of come around, and his main business is in the hotel software space. And as you can imagine, hotels fully stopped bookings, and his revenue dropped like 90% in the month of that the show kind of came out. But my life skyrocketed. So he's like, okay, well, I have all these amazing employees. I don't want them to not work. I don't want them to not make money. Let's move them over here. Wow. And then they just went bananas. They figured out my whole life. They structured everything around me because they wanted to stay busy. They wanted to keep things moving forward. And from that point, it was just like, he was barely sleeping. Like he was just, okay, like how do I navigate this? Going through every single email. Cause at the time, like I was having over 2 million story views on my Instagram every single day. And then with that, there's brands, there's people emailing, there's people saying like, I love Harry, blah, blah, blah. Can I have your socks? Can I have this? Then brands go through. So he's going through every single email, making sure that he can try and find people that we want to work with and whatever else. So he really just put in the hard yards and really built that through. And I'm so grateful. I've had a few people try and steal me from him over the years, but I couldn't imagine myself being with anyone else. And then I look at like other influencers and whatever else who are too afraid to get a team and whatnot. And I just say, like, you think Justin Bieber, you think Drake, you think all these like big people, if that's your goal to get to that level, like you think they're doing it by themselves? Like they have an amazing team, but I think everyone's just they're like, oh, well, I don't want to give away 20%. I'm like, it's 20% of whatever they bring to you. It's crazy.
And that really is, and that can take some people a long time to get to, but it's a fallacy if it's constructed to look like you, Harry Jowsey, are doing all of this by yourself, then that is what it is. Then it's doing its job, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is very different. I can only I wouldn't want you to say how many, but I know in my case there's, I think at least 8 people that I work with between television and podcasting and everything else that I do. And all those people get a percentage of what it is that I do. When I first started getting management, I was quite reluctant to give up that hard-earned. But you're right. Yeah. Like, it's money that they bring in is money that I was never going to get. So am I happy to give away a couple percentage of that? Yeah. Yeah, I am.
Of course.
Yeah. But no one does it by themselves.
No way. Yeah, I think I have in my immediate team, there's 15. Then there's my publicist and her team, which is like 4 or 5. Then there's my agents, which is 4. And then there's another agency, which is, I think, like 5 to 10 people. But they all bring in whatever they bring in. It's busy. It's got to get bigger.
Yeah, but it's important because but it seems that you kind of understand that there is a product that it's not you. It is the thing that people appreciate when they're looking at a screen. That is the product that you create. It's this version of you, and some people, I know I certainly did, can have a hard time separating that, understanding, themselves and the product. Does that come easily to you?
I think it's very funny when I meet people and they're like, oh, I thought you were going to be like this. I'm like, I do certain things on social media for a reaction to get more eyeballs and to get more audience and more people engaged. And I'll say things online and I'll do things online that I know are going to work to get more attention my way. But in person, I'm just a normal guy. Like I went to the pub here in Gold Coast with a few friends and they were like, what are you doing? Like, what, are you sure this is okay? I'm like, I'm a normal dude. Like, I'm just me. I'm Harry. And yeah, I'll go online and I'll be crazy and post whatever. But like, I want to hang out with people and be normal. I understand the night and day difference, but I tend to have to explain it to like my friends and even my mum as well, that like, hey, like that didn't happen. It was just a story, you know?
Speaking of mums, now's probably an okay to talk about it. Now's probably an okay time to talk about it. At what point do you tell your mum about the OnlyFans stuff?
Oh, I think all her friends are signed up, so she probably hears enough about it.
Because that's a thing, and you know that is the real generational divide thing. The idea that a young man or a young woman who is willingly and quite, you know, with eyes wide open, creating this product and getting paid. What have you learned about other people's internalized shame through your experience of OnlyFans?
OnlyFans is one of those things where there's people on there doing cooking classes, there's people on there doing DJ sets, and there's people on there doing full-blown porn. And it kind of like, so 1% of people, they give the rest of us like a bad rap, which is fine, but it's just, especially coming to Australia, everyone's like, oh, wow, like that's so scary. It's like taboo. And I'm like, look, at the end of the day, I have an amazing fan base and audience, and there's a select few of them that want to get to know me a little bit better, and they're willing to pay for it. They're willing to sit down and talk and spend money and see more of my life than I would post on social media. So it is kind of funny, especially with other men as well. Guys tend to get like a little bit weirded out about it. Like, oh, you do OnlyFans, you must be this or you must be that. I'm like, no, it's like, it's not a big deal. Like, it's just another social media platform, and it works really well for me.
What are the misconceptions that other men have about you doing OnlyFans, Harry?
I think it's more around like insecurity. I think that's what it is. Like, guys tend to be like, oh, well, you shouldn't be able to make money from your body or whatever else, or you're a sex worker. And it's like, I don't really care what you guys say because I've made multiple millions of dollars from this website. So it's not a big deal for me. And like, if you could be in my position, I'm sure you would be. So I think it just comes down to like a little bit of insecurity.
An athlete makes money from their body.
True. Yeah. I'm pretty much an athlete. I'm a sex athlete.
Well, you know, and sometimes it's hard work. Let's be honest. I have become quite puffed in the past, most definitely when things are robust. Well and truly, there's, you know, if you're not a little short of breath, you know, are you even doing it right at some
exactly.
point? But there's so much stigma in our community here in Australia, I guess, at least. I can't really speak. I haven't been in America for about, 7 years, but there's a lot of stigma in this community about young people, men or women, making money off of a site like OnlyFans. Why do you think that is?
I think it comes down to tall poppy syndrome, and that's one thing that I've and dealt with a lot, and trying to understand, especially coming back to Australia. When you're in America, and you've probably experienced this as well, you tell someone you have a dream. You say, I want to go to the moon one day, and there's someone there that's going to be like, oh, I know someone that can help you get to the moon.
Exactly.
But if you say something here, people are like, oh, that's a bit fucking weird. Why would you think like that? And like, oh, you should do that, because it's their thought process on how big they can dream.
Yeah.
So I think the stigma around it is more in a sense that they heard their friends say that this person was having sex on there and they think it's disgusting and gross. They don't want to go near it. But you go to America and it's like, oh, you just know it's just normal people doing whatever and they're just trying to connect more. So I don't know. I think it comes down to tall poppy syndrome and people not being willing to learn, but more just kind of folding to what everyone else is saying and being like, okay, well, I should stay away from that.
I had the same experience in America, and it was so lovely to hear you describe it, because that is how I described, well, when I first went to America, what do you do? It's like, oh, Australian. Like, pardon, what? I was Australian. Like, I'm mumbling the fact that I was a part of the highest rating television show in the history of my country, because it was ingrained in me to not say it loud. And exactly what you described happened to me. Like, within less than a minute, someone goes, you should talk to this guy. Fucking, and that person over there, they're doing a thing. Guys, come over here. And like the idea of helping another person achieve some amount of, progression wherever they're going is culturally ingrained. I'd like to think that as Australians we're getting better at it, but I think we could do more of it. There's no need to hold ourselves back. Like we can. There's more pie than there is pie chart. Helping another person helps you. All right, and that's it. That's the end of it.
That's the best thing I learned is that the more you can help other people, more comes back. Like whenever I am feeling like tight on money, I send money out. I know it's going to come back for me. But the funny thing about America, that was the first place that I realized that you could raise money for your business and you didn't have to put your own money in. I'm like, what? You could ask people for money, they do it for you? That's not a thing in Australia. And they're like, oh no, it probably is. But I was like, it's so rare. Everyone just kind of like, if you start a business, your friends don't want to post about it. No one wants to buy something. Like in America, all my friends, I was like, oh, I started a candle business recently. And I was like, yeah, I'll send you guys some. And they're like, no, just send us the website. We'll buy it. And all my friends over here were kind of just like, oh, can you give me a discount code or can you send me some? And I'm like, oh, okay. Like it's kind of crazy. Like just because you're my friend, you feel like you're entitled for me to have to pay for this whole thing for you.
I'm sure you'll figure that part out. Do you feel a sense of responsibility, as someone who does this kind of work and essentially broadcasts this kind of work? Do you feel a sense of responsibility about instilling, values around consent and values around, being mindful of your partner's needs?
Yeah, so I'm very open about like my sex life and my dating and everything in that sense. So I think that falls under that umbrella of just talking more about this stuff. And you're out talking about consent and making sure that especially young men know where to draw the line and to not overstep. So I think I do have a bit of a responsibility in that, but I also try and talk to people about like stuff that I've gone through in hopes that it helps maybe give someone a different peace of mind or it helps spark conversation.
Growing up in Yeppoon in the early 2000s, I can't imagine that were there many conversations around consent with you and your mates?
No, not at all. It was kind of a funny one. Me and my friends never really like would drink to go out and like hook up with girls. We'd drink to just get fucked up and try and like, fight or tackle a tree or something. So it was always kind of a funny one. And I never really understood. I think because for me, my friend group, my friends aren't horn dogs that just want to smash everything that's in front of them. So I never really saw creepy guys towards women. And I think maybe that's why I love my friends so much is because we're all like pretty relaxed. Like if a girl says, oh no, I don't want to come home with you. They're like, cool, I don't care. I'm having a good time with the boys anyway. So yeah, it is a bit of a weird one, but you do see a lot of that in America. You do see guys that are very like forward and open and honest. And yeah, it's a little bit alarming sometimes when you see guys just being a little bit too pushy.
There was, the stuff. Yeah, in LA, you don't have to be, when I was there at least, certainly in the mid-2000s, turn around and you see there's like a young woman having a coffee with someone who's like, that's not your dad. And you have now is a really good time to stand up and leave because they're going to promise you stuff. And it's hopefully a lot of that has changed. But but with it, you are you're a person in the public eye. You're a person that has millions of people who are. I don't use the word influence, but you model behavior, whether you like it or not, Harry, you model behavior that millions of people emulate because that's what we do as humans. We copy what we see. Do you feel that sense of responsibility as to kind of push the values of who you are into the world?
When I first started this industry, I didn't understand that. I just want to make people laugh. But more recently, when I started therapy and I started doing inner work and looking inside myself, I kind of dabble around like on my Snapchat where I post like quotes and I talk about things that help me pull me out of like dark holes and whatever else. And I realized that people actually absorb that stuff and they enjoy it. So at that point, it was the first time that I realized like, oh, okay, well, there is a young man out there. There is a young boy or there is a young girl that looks at me and feels some sort of like pull towards me and wants to be like me. So there was it's been more of a recent thought where I've toned down the hypersexualized persona that I push online for views and to clicks and stuff, but to be more a little bit family friendly and more like, okay, well, I know I have a responsibility. I know there's a young boy in Australia, maybe in Yeppoon, that wants to follow my footsteps. So, yeah.
Are you okay to, I mean, I won't, you can say you don't want to talk about this stuff, but as someone who's all about, getting after a therapist like you would get after a personal trainer, like getting mentally fit, like getting a six pack in your brain. I am all about that and maintaining that fitness. Would you be okay to talk a little bit about what took you to therapy and what you discovered there?
Of course. Yeah. So I most recently broke up with this amazing girl called Georgia. And it was because there was things that happened in that relationship that led to the breakup that I never could have imagined. Like I was at the point where I was about to buy us a house. We were talking about kids and we were moving it to the point where I couldn't imagine living with anyone else. And I couldn't imagine having anyone else beside me for the rest of my life. But then when there was things that happened that led to me having no choice but to end things, it really like tore my soul out of me, because I was at the point where I was like, this is my soulmate. Yeah. I love this girl with everything in my heart, and there's nothing on the planet that I wouldn't do for her. And then the breakup came about, and for me, I'm always like happy, fun guy online. And this was the first time where I genuinely couldn't figure out how to be funny and happy, and I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping. I was rattling my brain. I had to block her and everything, so I wouldn't look at her stories. I had to tell my friends, hey, like, please don't like bring it up in conversation because I don't know what to do. And I was toying with the idea of getting a therapist for a while before then, just because, I always feel it's hard to talk. It's hard to talk to everyone, especially about some things you kind of just want to get out of your head and not feel like you're being a downer on anyone. So I was at that point, and then this breakup happened, and my team just said, all right, you seriously need to talk to someone, because I was crying like nonstop, and I was trying to run away from my problems. I was trying to run away to New York. I was genuinely in a really bad place. And then having a therapist really was like a night and day difference, because you get to explain everything with no interruptions, no one combating what you're saying, no one like. Sometimes in a relationship where you say, hey, I don't like that, the person's going to come back and just rip you apart and make you feel invalidated, which is what's happened a lot. So I was sitting there, it was like the first time I really got to explain, like, this is how it made me feel. And I got to get that all out of me. I got to get it out of my head, off my shoulders, and then get a peace of mind. And then get a professional, someone that's trained to do this stuff, give me help to move on. And then also go down and like, maybe there's some like deep-rooted issues from my past that maybe that makes me the way I am. And it just helps you understand yourself as a human even more and reflect a lot better. And I think it has been one of the greatest decisions I've made.
I'm so happy to hear you talk about that. It's, less and less, I'd like to think, but it's still enough that many people don't want to go. Like, what's a therapist going to do to change, make this better? Like, are they going to come here and, sort this out? No. Like, I'm going to go sit in their office for an hour when I could be fixing that. Fuck off. That might be a reaction that some people may have. But in my own experience, the overarching idea that really helped me initially was just because I feel it doesn't make it real. And the way my body feels is a reaction to the thoughts that I've been having about this situation. And I can change my mind. So if I change how I feel about the situation, I'll change how my body feels. And that in itself unlocked a huge amount of relief and understanding that I'm just seeing this as this. It might not be this. Let me ask this person. And was there a moment for you that, like, some particular skill that the therapist helped you with that allowed you to kind of unlock something?
It wasn't the therapist that helped me with this. This has been the most life-changing piece of mental tool that I've ever had. So my manager, Jeff, he has an incredible network, and there's this one guy in it called Dan who helps people visualize the future and manifest. And I'm fully on board with this stuff. I love it so much. So I was in that rut, talking to my therapist once a week. It was good. It was helpful, but it wasn't really getting me over the line. I was kind of sitting there, like, sitting on my hands, like, okay, I need to see her more. But then I got sent this perfect picture exercise from this guy called Dan. Essentially, what happens is you write down next 5 years, like who you are, where you live, what it looks like, what it smells like, everything around you, who you live with, kind of what's going on in your legacy, your net worth, how many kids, everything about who you want to be in 5 years. You put it on a piece of paper. So I wrote it all down. I was very emotional. I'm like, wow, this is fucking awesome. Like I'm connecting with my future self, and I'm so proud of everything that I've achieved and everything that I've done and the man I've become. And then you go through that, you find something that's going to trigger that memory. So for me, it was 3 Fiji water bottles, because there was a video of The Rock on his social media where he was laying in bed and his daughter was popping a water balloon on his head. And then he panned and there's 3 Fiji water bottles beside his bed, like perfectly lined up, perfectly straight, unopened. And I was like, that is the most bizarre sign of success, because not 1, not 2, but 3 brand new fresh water bottles lined up. And I can imagine that he has a maid that comes in and makes sure it's there every night. There's no it's how it is in his life. That's the most insane sign of success. So for me, I put that in. I was like, in the next 5 years, I want to have 3 Fiji water bottles beside my bed every day. So I put that, and that's my anchor point. So now whenever I'm sad, whenever there's something that's pissing me off, or whenever there's something that's really getting under my skin, in my head, I yell, stop it. I yell it as loud as I can in my head, stop it. Think of the 3 Fiji water bottles, and it fully disrupts that whole thought process. I'm like, wow, none of this matters. Who cares about this breakup? It does not matter, because in 5 years, I'm so much stronger because of this. If I didn't have that breakup, I wouldn't have gone through this process, and I wouldn't know how to manifest and connect to the future me. So that has been the best advice that I ever received, and it changed everything for me.
I have a similar practice, and I wonder if this is the same with you, because people might. This is not some sort of the secret, you just pop it in your head and and then it just shows up like a car space at Westfields in Christmas time. No, for me it is, and I wonder if this is the same with you. For me, it's if I remind myself the things, like there's things that I want with this podcast, there's things with other things, shows that I'm creating and projects that I'm working on outside of television and broadcasting. If I write it all down and I remind myself of it, I try to do it daily. Subconsciously, I find myself making decisions and choices, tiny little choices and decision points throughout the day that edge me closer to that. Because in the back of my mind, it's like, oh no, we're eventually going to have this thing. So this is probably the right thing to do. And I wonder if that's the same thing with you.
I have Post-it notes around my bathroom mirror. So subconsciously, same thing. Like I'm just making those subtle decisions that are going to get me closer to that person that I see in the mirror. So yeah, I'm fully on board with that stuff. I love it.
But it's not some sort of woo-woo shit. It is just, in the same way that, I don't know. I've just taught Wolfie, the littlest one, how to look right, look left, and look right again when you cross the road. Okay? So, it becomes this kind of automatic response now. And, eventually it becomes this thing that's just in the back of your head. Like, oh, when I'm crossing the road, I just do this because I want to get to the other side safely. That's on my Post-it note, is like, get to the other side safely. And so there's this choice that I'm making through the day that helps me ultimately do that, because somewhere in my brain it says this is the thing that we want to do. And it also gives you some sort of agency and forward motion. When you started working with this therapist, how did that change the way you looked after yourself? And you clearly keep very fit. You clearly have a disciplined, regime. We spoke before about how your body processes protein and your testosterone levels right now. So you're kind of on the inside track at this point, son, but it changes on the other side of 30, bro. Holy shit. It gets interesting. Where's the discipline around making sure that you have the bandwidth? Because there's a lot of stress in your life. And this is not even to mention for the amount of people that really love what you're doing and are happy to financially support you through the channels that you put yourself out there. There's a percentage of people that want to see you vanish into oblivion, hopefully on fire, while, being filmed in slow motion. People could be probably quite horrible, really horrible to you and people you love. How do you is there a thing that you do during the day, or a thing that you do kind of habitually to keep your resilience up and allow you to deal with the uncertainties that, the high, as they say, the higher you climb in the tree, the windier it gets, or that they tackle hard in the NFL. If you're earning hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, like, more money, more problems. I believe it was Biggie Smalls that taught us that. How do you keep yourself resilient? How do you keep yourself insulated against that sort of shit?
I think I built up a good round of tough skin. Like when I first came on off the show, it was all I got was love. All I got was love, and there was a few nasty comments here and there. And then when I broke up with my ex, and she started making like all these lies and creating rumors online about me, that was the first time I ever had to deal with like hate, and I didn't know how I could deal with it. And I think that goes back to the university thing. Like I would rather deal with it myself, figure out, fuck up, and move on. So that was the first time I ever dealt with kind of any sort of bad attention and people not liking me. And from that point on, I realized that I only reply to nice comments. If I see a nasty comment, it's so easy to block someone, but it's so easy to restrict them. So they think they're talking, they think they're getting to you, but no one can see their comments. Yeah. They kind of just like don't exist on your page and they still follow you. So there's a lot of ways to go about it, but it's also like comes down to if you see someone like comment something nasty, go and look at their page and you're like, oh, I get it. I would be upset too if I were you, so that's fine. So I just feel sorry for these people. I'm like, you do look miserable, so it's okay, but it just sucks that you have to like overflow that onto someone else. So
my God, to find empathy is a hard one because we don't automatically do that. We often want to just go straight to defensive or attack mode, don't we?
Yeah, well, I'm very blessed that my friends are very laid back. Like I look at some people and they see a nasty comment and they go mad and reply and go crazy. I would send a screenshot to my best friends. They'd be like, is this funny? Should I say that? And they're like, who cares? Like, why do you care? And then I'm like, okay, cool. You know, I am being dramatic, so I'm just going to leave it. So yeah, I'm blessed. If I didn't have my friends, I would be crazy online to people that would mean to me.
So there's probably as many people who follow you for, the thing they look at when they see you talking, moving, whatever, might trigger some sort of hormone release within their body. They might feel a warm fuzzy within them when they look at you, and that's totally awesome. But there's probably as many guys that look at you and go, that's the kind of arms I want. That's the kind of shoulders I want. Do you think people actually have an idea about what kind of work it takes to maintain or build the kind of body that you've got?
I always get a little bit funny about that because I remember when I first was coming up and I was looking at guys, I'm like, damn, I send screenshots to my friends like, I want to look like this one day. I want to look like this. And then now that I've got it more figured out, but I think my life is very built around me being optimal and operating at 100%. So I know that not every person, because I'm not normal. There's people with normal jobs and normal lives that can't have they can't wake up, go to the gym, and then go for a 2-hour walk or a run, and then go have breakfast. And like that's not realistic for everyone. So I think that I try and let people know that like, hey, like I have it as good as it can be. Like I've built a team around making sure that I'm operating at a high level. But I try my best to help people, especially like a lot of these fitness influencers. Like they can be in the gym 10 hours a day if they want to, and it's just not doable for people that actually need to live and have a normal life. So I try and help with guys, and I try and say like, this is if you want to figure out your calories, like if you want to get a meal plan, ask AI. Like you can do that. I did it the other day. I showed them on my Snapchat. I'm like, okay, this is how many calories I need to lose weight, blah, blah, blah. Here's AI. They're going to do a meal plan for a week, and it's free. You don't have to pay anyone. You have it all sorted. Then you can ask it for like a workout plan to like lose weight, and it's going to do it for you. So yeah, I try, but I just know that it's not doable. But then again, I know I'm not at the best I can be. So I'm always trying to strive to be better, especially my body.
When it comes to motivation to train on a day when you don't really want to go, what gets you out the door? What gets you in the shoes? What gets the headphones on?
I see it's so ingrained in me now that like I can't start my day without doing something. So, but for me, I always say, dude, if you just go and sit on the treadmill for 20 minutes, like you're so much better than you are just sitting here. So like, let's go, let's get up, let's just put the shoes on. If you get out of the door, then you're already there. Oh, okay, you're in your car now. So you're like 75% there. You may as well just get it done. And then once you're done warming up on the treadmill, you're like, oh, actually, I kind of maybe want to train legs today, or maybe I kind of want to do this. But I also
I don't overwork myself. I'm only in the gym for 45 minutes, no more, no less. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna superset everything, and I'm not there to fuck around. I don't want to be here. I just want to get it in. I want to have that feeling, and then I want to go for a walk and get in the sun and soak that up. So yeah, I limit myself to 45 minutes in the gym and 45 minutes like outside soaking up the sun, and yeah.
That's for 45 minutes. And so you're not the guy sitting on the machine just, rubbing the glass. Just rubbing the glass. I'm not done rubbing the glass.
That's me. That's for 40 minutes. I do one set.
Just one rep, bro. One rep. Yeah. I'm just letting my glycogen replenish, mate, and then I'll be right with you. No, but like that's because the idea that when it comes to fitness, that we're kind of we might have this idea that it's hours or it's huge amount of stuff. But when you're talking superset, that means for people who don't haven't lifted weights or something like that, if you're working, say, an arm muscle or a leg muscle, there's a pull movement and there's a push movement at the same, like one set to the next. So you're working the whole limb in kind of one hit. So it's actually a kind of a quicker way to do it. You can work the other side of the limb that is, while the other one's recovering because you've just, pulled some massive deadlifts or something like that. So, but 45 minutes that's doable. That's like, it's less than an hour.
So doable.
I can get it done.
That's the thing. Like even with whatever those off days. Okay, cool. I'm going to do 3 exercises. Or maybe it's a chest day. I'm going to do 3 exercises for my chest. That's the max I'm going to do for that day. 4 sets, 15, 20 reps. Max I'm going to do. And then to superset it with tries. So then we're only going to do 3 exercises for chest, 3 exercises for tries. And then that's 45 minutes done. And I feel good. I feel great. But it all comes down to the food that you put in your body. That's where I realized that I needed to hone in on, because I snack. I just eat everything and I go crazy for stuff. So yeah, I really realized that the more gum I have, the less I eat. So I try to always have gum.
But that is I did a couple of years back, I did a men's health cover, and in 10 weeks I did one of those transformation things. It was bonkers how much fat I lost and how much muscle I put on. I'm still at this point the only vegan to ever be on the cover of that mag, and I was pretty happy. Bro, I put on 2.5 kilos of muscle in 10 weeks.
Wow. That's awesome.
At 44 and a celiac. It was awesome.
Wow.
But all of that happened in the kitchen. It wasn't about the gym. It all happened in the kitchen. And I think that's the real misconception I think people have about someone that they see who's got, not a lot of adipose fat on their body. They think, they must be in the gym all the time. It's like, no, they're just careful about what they put in their mouth.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing is like, I realize I actually don't have to finish all the meals like that I have. Like you don't have to. that was the biggest thing that I had to overcome when I was growing up, because my parents like, your mother made this food, you have to finish it. If you don't finish it, like you're not alone there, spanked.
Mate. I think a lot of people listening have that. Yeah.
So as an adult, if I go out, I'm like, I don't have to finish all these French fries. Like I already have the taste. I already know that I've eaten them. The craving's done. I don't know. Now I'm just eating them because I'm competitive. Like I don't need to do that. Like get them out of here.
So what would you say to people who might, be listening to this and they're going, man, I should feel better about that? Because I'm guessing like once you've finished that 45 minutes and you've gone for and it's nice to hear that walking is a part of what you do. That is actually, it's really important for your head, for your body. That people won't be listening, I wouldn't mind a bit of that. But I've let it slip so far, I couldn't even start. What would you say to someone who's in that position?
Just go for a walk. Like just you got to do it every day. So you may as well just start there. Just start being more cautious about the food portions that you have, and also do your 5-year plan. What do you want to have in 5 years? Who do you want to look like? What do you want to smell like? What do you want to be like? How do you want, like, what energy do you want to radiate off you when people talk to you? And my biggest thing is I look in the mirror and I'm like, that's not who I am in 5 years. So why am I not working harder? Like what? Like I know I can be better. I know I can be more dialed in. I know I can be more honed in. And I know I can be a better version of myself. So if you're looking in the mirror and you're not happy or you're not excited, then just open the door,
take one step outside, have a goal for the day. I want to do a kilometer walk there and back, or I want to do 2-kilometer walk. And also sunshine is so good for you. You're going to feel so much better. You're going to have that peace of mind. You can start that audio book that you've been wanting to start. Yeah. You can start that podcast. You can really get a lot done. And you can also, for me, like I do a lot of my emails, I do a lot of my work. Sometimes I take meetings on a walk, and it gives me the best start to my day. And also it helps, like, for manifesting. I walk around and I see the houses and I see how big it is and how other people have it, and the potential and the beauty in this world. And it fills me so much with so much gratitude. It makes me like, wow, this is beautiful. Like, we live, especially in Australia, like I get to walk around here on the beach and I'm like, this is the most beautiful place on the planet. There's nothing like Australia. And it makes me feel so grateful to be alive. And then it makes me want to get outside more. I'm like, there's so much more I haven't seen. I got to go that way now. Like, it's awesome.
I love your curiosity, and what you've described. What people might not realize, but what you described, it's mindfulness. You're being, yes, you said you are on your phone occasionally. This is true, but to walk around and notice houses, oh, that's a really interesting thing in that window. Wow, look at that couch I can see from here. Boy, look at that boat. Boy, that's a fantastic surfboard over there. Goodness me, wouldn't it be incredible? Like, noticing the world around you, and then if you go out every day, noticing how it changes every day, that's extraordinarily helpful to keep things in perspective, keep your life in perspective. The idea of having a 5-year plan is actually kind of not a plan, like if you don't have one, you're fucked. It's just a bit of to understand that we're all going somewhere and we have a choice in where we're going. So you may as well choose, you know?
Time's going to pass regardless. You may as well put something on paper.
You couldn't have said it better. Now, speaking of time passing, I wouldn't want you to be alone, Harry. Now, as someone who I wrote a book about this, so I'm not saying anything that's out of order, but those earlier years that I told you where there was no manager, when I was like in the middle of a show called Australian Idol, life was bananas. Like, I wasn't alone, I promise you, but I was lonely because there was no one that I had in my life that I could share an intimate emotional connection with. And as I've gotten older, hot fades, you know, but kindness lasts forever, and being able to connect with someone emotionally and have the two of you have a conversation without words is one of the most extraordinary, glorious things ever. And I want you to have that in your life. You know, you've got everything, but you know, talk about things that money can't buy. Money can't buy that. You know, is that in your life? Is it coming into your life? Is that on your 5 years?
It's on my. I had it with my ex. That was where nothing else mattered. You know, I wake up, I'm like, let's get her coffee before myself. Let's make sure her day starts right before mine starts. But it's in my best interest now, because, you know, this hookup culture is crazy. But I explain to people, I'm now dating to marry. Like, if I can't see myself marrying you, I don't want to date you. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm not going to waste your time. I'm not going to waste my time. I've learned enough lessons. I don't need to learn anything else. I'm good. I've learned enough lessons. I've been cheated on. I've cheated on someone. I've done this. I've done that. I know exactly what's good and bad. I know it, like, black and white. I get it. I'm good. I'm ready to settle down. I'm ready to get married. I'm ready to figure all that stuff out. I'm ready to have a best friend and a life partner. So that's the goal, but I'm not hunting it, because I know every time you go hunt something and try and force love, it doesn't come. So I'm focusing on myself. I have so much to achieve in my career, and I have so much to do in the next 5 years. And she only comes in year 3. So I still have the next 3 years till I'm 28 to go, all right, and then she's going to pop up and we're good. So, yeah.
Oh, be prepared for that person to show up when you least expect it, mate. You strike me as someone who's, you know, the idea of unlocking the potential that you have is very important to you. And I'm guessing that the person who will be this person that comes into your life romantically will have that similar kind of idea. I'd imagine that you would be interested in finding someone like that. So I'll tell you what was told to me, Harry. There is no such thing as the one. There is only the one that's willing to work on it with you. And if you find that person, that is the person. All right? That is it.
Wow.
Because it gets shit. And when kids come along, no one's fucking sleeping. Money, no matter how much money's coming in, we're always operating to the limits of what we can afford, right? So there's always money troubles. There's never sleep. You're cranky. And if you've got someone who's willing to work on it, then that's more valuable than anything. And when I learned that is the thing that changed for me. And that is how when I found Audrey, I was like, and we're away, because that you are willing to do this. And there's difficult times. There's this idea that it's always perfect is bullshit. Everything goes in cycles. But if you've got someone that's willing to figure it out with you, then that's the greatest thing you can find. And I'm telling you, man, she's probably going to show up sooner than you're ready for it.
Oh, God.
She might not have read your piece of paper,
no.
Harry.
Oh, no.
What do you mean? Oh, no. You get to you get to cut to the end of the level faster. You get to go to the boss level quicker, and then you go above, man. It's great.
I'm trying to wait till I was 28.
Why?
I don't know. Oh,
it's a
God.
number, bro.
Yeah.
It's a mate. Look, mate, you're a really busy man, and I'm so fucking grateful I could speak with you today. To hear from you, and you're someone who represents a lot to a lot of people, but someone like you terrifies people who work in the industry that I work in. Because you've figured out a way to get at the same market that people in my kind of main broadcast industry are losing hand over fist, and they can't figure out in many ways how to. Well, we need to recapture this market. We don't know what to do. So I'm just stoked for you, mate. I'm just so happy that you are where you are, and you seem to have some really good people around you, and I'm really glad about that, man. Just have fun, and you sound like you're okay. And I'm stoked to hear that you're okay. I really am.
Oh, thanks, bro. I appreciate it.
No worries,
this
bro.
has been awesome. Yeah, I'm also a big fan, man. This is wild.
Piffle, really? Well, thank you.
Yeah, of course. What do you mean? What do you mean, really?
I just happened to have jobs that a lot of people knew about. Like, there's people who give out home loans that change way more lives than I do. I just happen to have a job that people know about.
You give people that break where they don't have to worry about their nonsense, and they can watch people
there's
on
that
TV. Yeah,
there is that.
It's good.
That is a part of it.
Fundamental.
I'm grateful for it, man.
Yeah.
I really am. Have the most fantastic time on the Goldie, and I really appreciate you taking the time, buddy. And there's a muffin shop in Mermaid Beach that you have to go to. It's not the surf club; it's on the other side of the road from the surf club. And
Muffin shop in Mermaid Beach.
Yeah, like it's from your place. It's probably 40 minutes walk south.
Okay.
And
I'll run it.
It's just on the other side of the surf club. And you know what? Then you can wander past the $20 million houses on the Four Dunes, and you can do a bit of manifesting while you chomp your muffin.
Wow. That's perfect. I love that. Thank you.
At your service. Thanks, man.
Legend.